The maid reproaches Giselle for going out in a nightgown. She reproaches the heroine for inappropriate behavior that brings shame to the family. Lady Giselle, exhausted by the condemnation, can no longer bear this burden. Behind her back, the maids continue to gossip, unaware of the storm in the heroine's soul. The maids smile, hiding behind the mask of friendliness needles of hidden hatred. Giselle decides to accept the humiliation, but realizes that she cannot bear it. The rain reflects Giselle's inner state. Melancholy and despair overwhelm her. She screams into the void, not understanding why fate is so cruel to her. Giselle admits that she has been reborn as the heroine of a tragic love story. She remembers a novel she read after work in her past life. The girl read this story to distract herself from her problems. The main character, the daughter of a legendary magician, loses her magic and experiences endless suffering. After the mysterious death of her parents, she ends up in the family of her father's friend as an adopted daughter. As a result, she ends up in Floret County. At first, life improved, especially when the Count was nearby. But as soon as he left, Lady Mariposa took the reins of government into her own hands. Lady Mariposa began to cruelly harass Giselle. Marquis Berthaud vilified her for his own gain, and Duke Le Chaniel stole her mana. High society mercilessly accuses her of having relationships with two men. And yet she is willing to tolerate this slander. The reader is furious, because the main male characters are just trash, and their regrets are worthless. Suddenly, she sees something that makes her literally choke with shock. Giselle is dead, and that's not a big headline. It's the stupidest, most unfair ending in the world. That day, she was pushed to the limit at work, and all the pent-up anger poured out in an angry comment to the author of the novella. But it's not just the plot that has caused her outrage, but also the strange response of another commentator. In response to her anger, the author simply coldly replies, "If you don't like it, don't read it," which completely infuriates her. After a humiliating conversation with the author, she throws away her phone in frustration and falls into a deep sleep. She is doomed, because when she opened her eyes again, she remembered her entire past life. Now she understands why the familiar closet and old blanket gave her such a strange feeling of déjà vu. Incredibly, she was reborn in the very same novel whose ending had angered her so much. She became the one she pitied most, the heroine of the tragic novel, Giselle Floret. Ahead of her, there was only the miserable path of an unfortunate heroine, predetermined by the plot. Every step in this new world echoed with pain and humiliation, repeating tragic scenes. In the cold rain, for the first time, she felt all the pain that was just lines in a book. Only 2 weeks had passed, and she was already living through the misfortunes from the book one after another. Worse, it seemed that the universe itself was thirsting for her suffering, punishing her for the sins of others. Is she really doomed to experience the same bullying, ignoring, and unbearable loneliness again? A sudden horror pierced her, because if she repeated Giselle's life, then the same end awaited her. The heroine of the novel died suddenly and senselessly, cutting short her already miserable life. Is she really destined to suffer until death in this life? Just like in the last one? Having fallen on level ground, she asks for help, but in response, she hears only the sarcastic laughter and mockery of the maids. How can you laugh when someone is in pain? Her soul was screaming from resentment and injustice. Her words take the maids by surprise. They did not expect such a direct reproach from her. At this moment, rage awakens in her. She no longer wants to be a weak-willed victim. She's already died once, and now she has nothing to lose. She refuses to be a pathetic heroine. Suddenly, as if by magic, the rain stopped and bright sunlight flooded everything around. But why? This sudden miracle and the mysterious inscription in the air only confuse her. She remembers the very same comment from the author about the improvement of the main character, which she will lose. Surely, if she behaves differently, the improvement that the author spoke about will also disappear. This means that she will be able to change not only her fate, but also the tragic ending of this story. With a sly grin, she decides that she never liked the story of the repentant heroine. She declares war on everyone who tormented her and the main male characters, deciding to act outside the script. Her first actions shock her tormentors. They can't believe their eyes. In response to their shouts, she only elegantly straightens her hair, completely ignoring their indignation. She will make everyone pay, and from now on, her madness will become their worst nightmare. As they say, there is always a bigger fish to fry, and it's time to show who's the real crazy one here. From this moment on, she begins her game, in which there will be no place for weakness and tears. She will repay them in the same coin, and very soon they will see everything with their own eyes. Now she responds to any insolence with cold confidence, plunging her enemies into a stupor. It's a great time to get started, and her sly smile promises a lot of interesting things. The first object of her revenge is Mariposa Florette, her main and most ruthless tormentor. Once naive, Giselle tried to find a kindred spirit in her, united by a common tragedy, but in response to her sincere letter, full of compassion, she received only cold contempt. Mariposa burned Giselle's letter like it was some dirty trash. The letter she had put her whole soul into turned into a handful of ashes in her trembling palms. After this incident, her heart closed forever, and the torment became even more sophisticated and cruel. Mariposa reveled in her power, constantly reminding her that without her gift, Giselle was just a dumb idiot. Since she was accepted into this house, she had to bear her burden, and Mariposa devised a humiliating role for her. She made her clean like a common maid, and no one in that house treated her like a human being. The only joy in this hell was the discovery of the magical talent that she inherited from her father. Despite all the losses, she found within herself a source of incredible strength that she never knew she had. Looking back, she realizes that silence was her salvation, because a predator like Mariposa would not miss the chance to use her gift. Today is the very day she so wanted to change, the day of the announcement of her engagement to Viscount Milpiane. That was the day her life went into a downward spiral, because Mariposa had already found her a groom, a man 30 years older. She announces with a smile that she is ready for the meeting, hiding her insidious plan behind her calm. Mariposa is furious at her insolence. She is not used to the fact that a pathetic orphan dares to contradict her. Unfortunately for you, Mariposa Florette, things are now not going to go as you planned. She will no longer allow anyone to trample her life. Her cold gaze promises cruel revenge. The miserable life of the romantic fantasy heroine who became the scapegoat has come to an end. That same evening, in Florette's luxurious hall, the first chapter of her new, completely different story will begin. The hall is buzzing with poisonous whispers. Guests are contemptuously discussing the shameless woman in a modest outfit. Mariposa's face contorts with rage. She can't believe her eyes when she sees what Giselle is wearing. In her maid uniform, Giselle innocently replies that she was just cleaning and completely lost track of time. Mariposa's smile is full of poison. This brat dared to show up to her own engagement dressed as a servant. Panic begins among the guests, because this scandalous appearance could ruin such a profitable engagement. With false tenderness in her voice, Mariposa pretends to praise Giselle for taking care of the maids. Left alone, she hisses angrily about some dress, but Giselle does not understand what she is talking about. The disapproving whispers continue, but Giselle doesn't care. Let them chatter as much as they want. Mariposa threatens her, reminding her that only an eccentric like the Viscount would agree to take her as his wife. At this moment, the groom himself appears, beaming with happiness and proclaiming that their love will finally bear fruit. The Viscount, taken aback by her outfit, tries to hide his confusion behind an awkward compliment. She looks with disgust at this man, whom she barely remembered from the novel, who is repulsive in his entire appearance. He, not noticing anything, continues to shower her with pleasantries, while poisonous gossip is already creeping behind her back. With a smug smile, he shows off his hairstyle, waiting for her enthusiastic approval. But just as Mariposa tries to force the issue, her cold no cuts the air. Mariposa stands in stunned silence, unable to believe her ears as her world begins to crumble. "I said no, I'm completely deaf," she repeats, throwing her an open challenge. Mariposa's face contorts with rage. She chokes with indignation, losing control of herself. She stands unwavering, and there is a fire burning in her eyes, confirming Mariposa's worst fears. She has gone crazy. But she is not Giselle. She has thousands of days of hard work behind her, and this experience has made her completely different. In her past life, she has been through fire and water, working in call centers and coffee shops, and has seen everything. All this experience has made her a true expert in dealing with difficult clients, compared to whom the villains of this novel are just children. Mariposa's rage knows no bounds, but she doesn't understand that people like her need to be treated in a completely different way. Keeping her icy calm, she asks her tormentor to stop screaming, and then he strikes, complaining of a headache from the bad smell coming from her mouth. Her caustic apology that the stench was too strong finally drives Mariposa crazy. Mariposa explodes in rage, accusing Giselle of acting like a dirty and ill-mannered girl. "Ah, so that's how it is," she agrees with feigned humility. "Then such a dirty girl as I am not worthy to stand next to you." The angrier Lady Mariposa gets, the more pleasure she gets from her small victory. And to everyone's amazement, she begins to wipe the floor, leaving her tormentors in complete shock. With a satisfied smile, she admits that she really was crazy to sew herself a dress from hand-me-downs. Her theatrical performance is designed to upset them and make them lose control of the situation. Earlier, driven to her limits, Mariposa had screamed in rage that she would no longer tolerate her impudent behavior. Grabbing a glass of wine, she vowed to make sure Giselle never dared to use her dirty tongue again. But in this world, the rules stopped working when it came to her, and she knew it very well. So Mariposa, without holding back her anger, was about to attack her, without caring at all about propriety. But at the last moment she dodges, and all of Mariposa's anger falls on the Viscount. With an innocent smile, she watches the consequences of her little provocation. The Viscount looks at his ruined face in horror, not believing what just happened. And at this time, someone arrives in the hall whose appearance no one expected, and his appearance promises new problems. His cold gaze pierces the crowd. He feels the tension in the air and wonders what happened here. The Viscount is horrified. His wig has fallen off, revealing a bald spot, and he screams in rage about his ruined hair. She puts on an innocent act, insisting that she and Lady Mariposa were just talking. Humiliated and insulted, the Viscount cannot believe what is happening. Such treatment is unthinkable for him. He officially calls off the engagement, and she can hardly contain her joyful laughter, delightedly accepting his decision. The Viscount runs away in a rage, cursing them all, and Mariposa, in a panic, tries to stop him. "Thanks to you, the marriage negotiations have been disrupted," Mariposa hisses, not understanding how this pawn dared to ruin her plans. She threatens to sell her to another family, but Giselle is no longer afraid. Her tears are just a cover. "Will you be as brave when Mr. Fleuret returns?" Her words hit the mark. She reminds Mariposa of the promise she made to her brother, and that her behavior is far from that of a caring aunt. Mariposa screams in rage that the Count is dead, but her words sound like a spell that she herself is afraid not to believe in. The last news from the Count was a telegram from the Lost Island, after which he disappeared without a trace. But what if the missing Count returns and finds out how his sister treated his best friend's daughter? After all, there is no law that would prohibit him from returning before her marriage, she reminds him venomously. Mariposa's face is distorted by a grimace of impotent rage. She finally loses control of the situation. "Don't you dare come back here again!" she shouts at her back, but it sounds like an admission of defeat. 5 minutes before the incident, a tense anticipation hung in the hall, foreshadowing the appearance of a new figure. The unexpected appearance of Duke Kalinos, with blood on his sleeve, leaves everyone in shock. House Kalinos, one of the 3 great houses of the empire, is renowned for its unrivaled magic. But their main glory is the glory of ruthless warriors who protect the northern lands from hordes of monsters. Particularly notable was the current Duke Vicentin Kalinos, whose clothes were said to be so soaked in blood that he looked like a demon. But these are just rumors that are whispered from mouth to mouth, fearing even to pronounce his name. They whispered behind his back, calling him a bloody villain, but no one dared to say a word to his face. In fact, just one look from him made people faint and their souls sink into their heels. He had little interest in social events. He was much more interested in measuring deviations in the extraction of phlogistons. In fact, he looked more like a passionate scientist than a ruthless killer. And he doesn't kill people. He only cares about his endless research, from which he is constantly torn away. He has a lot of work, but they still want to see him at a social event, taking up precious time. The family, the Senate, they all waste his time on useless things, hindering his great discoveries. But this time, his faithful assistant brought him news that could possibly change everything. They want him to get married, to find a life partner, but for him, this is just another annoying obstacle. He doesn't know how to behave with a lady, let alone marriage. This world is completely alien to him. He tries to follow the rules of etiquette, but even his attempt to be friendly looks threatening. His welcoming smile looks more like the grin of a predator, and the servant freezes in horror. Yes, the books don't lie. His smile really did help establish contact. though not quite in the way he expected. But marriage is too ineffective, because if he neglects his marital duty, the likelihood of divorce will increase. Wouldn't it be better to enter into a contract marriage and then get divorced, saving yourself the extra hassle? The only problem is that there is not a single lady in this world who would be his equal. And at that moment, as if in response to his thoughts, she appears in his field of vision, just as alien in this world. He looks at her, not hearing Mariposa's furious screams, and something in his cold heart begins to change. He is fascinated by her strange outfit. He does not understand how she dared to appear at a social event dressed like that. Guests whisper that before leaving, she created a huge scandal, completely destroying her reputation. Or maybe there is, she thinks, walking away. And her silhouette does not reflect despair, but rather the anticipation of a new life. The assistant is perplexed as to why she is suddenly dressed like that, but the Duke has already made his decision. It doesn't matter to him who he marries. The main thing is that she is not a commoner and does not break the law. He cancels all his social events and orders an investigation into the identity of this strange lady in rags. Having escaped from the stuffy hall, she finally feels free, and the fresh night air intoxicates her. Lady Mariposa still doesn't know that she has magic, and that's her main trump card. Even with almost no mana left, she can still cast wind magic, enough for a small but effective prank. She was able to break free from the plot's control, and this intoxicating feeling of freedom gives her hope for the future. It's time for the next step, and now she's ready for whatever lies ahead. Her goal is to become a great magician, one of those to whom even the Emperor himself bows. Only in this way will she be able to take revenge and completely rewrite the tragic plot that was destined for her. So, further down the list, her plan for revenge begins to take on clear and bold outlines. First, she needs to restore her depleted mana by reaching the maximum level of her gift. Secondly, find a worthy teacher who will help her blow this rotten world to hell. And finally, get hold of powerful artifacts that will make her even stronger and more dangerous. To replenish her mana, she needs to go to the very place she read about in the novel. The fire-breathing dragon tavern will be her first stop on the way to a new, completely different life. And without hesitation, she takes the first step, bursting into the tavern with a desperate cry about looking for work. With a beaming smile, she announces her desire to work here, and this becomes a real breakthrough in her new life. Although the world has not yet recovered from the effects of the war, the new era is obsessed with only one idea: enrichment. The merchants who became rich during the war quickly rose to the level of the minor landed gentry, buying titles for money. In response, the old aristocracy began to secretly establish trade guilds under fictitious names. At the center of all this frenetic activity was a shopping street run by the powerful Kalinos family. His faithful assistant reports that they have finally received information about the very lady he is looking for. But the Duke is no longer interested in the list of candidates for the Duchess. He orders to get rid of it. Even the fact that this list was compiled by the former Duke of Garneau does not mean anything to him. Once the mysterious lady was found, everything else lost all meaning. His goal was very close. But what interests him most is his assistant, whom he constantly calls by different names. To the horror of those around him, there was a huge queue at the restaurant doors, and no one could understand the reason for such excitement. His investigation was impeccable, but he felt that something else had happened here in the meantime. The assistant writes it all off as rumors, but the Duke has his doubts. His intuition tells him that the matter is different. And then she appears, with a tray of freshly baked bread and a beaming smile, inviting everyone to try it. He had heard that she lived in the area, but what he saw exceeded all his expectations. This lady surprises him every time. She doesn't just work, she puts on a real culinary show. Her behavior at the ball was not what the Count's daughters are taught, and this strikes his imagination. He decides to leave, citing preparations, although his assistant does not understand why they came here at all. Ever since the Duke met this young lady, he has become very strange, and this worries his faithful servant. Until now, he had only shown interest in his research, but now something else had appeared in his life. His interest in her is like searching for a rare ingredient, a new and exciting area of research. Previously, he tamed dragons with the same passion, but now this mysterious girl has become his new passion. His faithful assistant is horrified. He is afraid that his master will fall in love with her at first sight. She drinks a vile potion that tastes like sewage, but it is a small price to pay for her future freedom. She turned a dull tavern into a real show, using her secret tricks from her past life. Thanks to her efforts, the tavern's revenue skyrocketed, and she was able to restore her mana. It was for this reason that she took a job at a tavern that secretly belonged to the Kalinos family. She needed a mana activation potion developed by the Kalinos family, which had failed to sell. She started all this for only one thing: to get the legendary Dragon Claw. If even the discarded potion was so good, then what power do the rest of their creations possess? The Kalinos, a renowned magical family known for their secrecy, find nothing easier than to brew such a potion. Since she can't get a job as a maid for them, she will have to collect potions bit by bit wherever she can. Suddenly, a mysterious stranger appears before her, his figure seemingly floating in the air, surrounded by an aura of power. His face seems painfully familiar to her, causing a vague uneasiness and anxiety in her soul. A minor character simply cannot have such a beautiful and memorable face. My name is Vizentin Kalinos. His voice is calm, but there is a hidden threat in every word. Duke Kalinos. The name echoes in her mind, and she realizes with horror who stands before her. The same Vizentin Kalinos, the main villain from the original story, ruthless and bloody. He tells her not to worry, and, with deceptive kindness, informs her that he wants to propose to her. A bloody villain, the heir to the Kalinos family, has come to her with an offer, and she doesn't know what to expect. An offer she can't refuse comes in a deafening silence filled with magic. The words that he wants to see her as his wife fall on her like a bolt from the blue. Her imagination conjures up wedding bells, but her mind refuses to believe that what is happening is real. Confused, she tries to find a hidden meaning in his words, not believing in their directness. He blames himself for his inattention, not realizing that his directness is the greatest madness for her. A ring appears in his hands, and these are no longer just words, but a real proposal. A huge diamond shines in a velvet box, turning a crazy proposal into a fairy tale reality. This tempting offer becomes a real temptation, and she almost loses her head. She tries to pull herself together, reminding herself that she is the main character, doomed to suffer. She tries to refuse, but he already knows that her fate is now inextricably linked with his. His offer is stunning because he offers her 5 billion gold a year. This amount is enough to buy 2 townhouses in the capital, and she cannot believe that they are offering so much for the role of his wife. She feigns insulted innocence. Does he really think she is a whore, ready to do anything for money? But the next second, she smiles coquettishly, suggesting that they continue their conversation in a more secluded place. 5 billion. That's more than enough to win the heart of any modern soul in this capitalist world. Meanwhile, in his laboratory in the capital, the Grand Duke was absorbed in something completely different. After almost a year of continuous work, he finally breathes a sigh of relief as he pours out the precious potion. The potion with the effect he needed is finally ready, and a triumphant smile lights up his face. 399 days, 13 hours and 30 minutes, and here it is, the long-awaited triumph. He turns to his trusted assistant, again getting his name mixed up, to ask a question that might change everything. 5 billion gold, 3 years budget for a decent noble family. He doesn't understand why she didn't agree. He was absolutely sure that she would accept his proposal. Her refusal ruins all his plans. Last night, addressing him as a client, she had begun their strange transaction. With a disarming smile, she clarifies the details of his crazy proposal, ready to listen to any conditions. He wants her to become his wife, and then turn into a bitch to drive his family away from him. In her past life, she learned how to deal with difficult clients, so it won't be difficult for her to copy scandalous behavior. Despite all the benefits, it is too unexpected, and she asks him for time to think. She doesn't refuse, she just needs 3 days to make a final decision, and he agrees. She promises to contact him in 3 days and leaves, leaving him at a loss. It's a good offer, but she can't let her guard down, because knowing the nature of the real Giselle, everything is not so simple. The girl decides to take a desperate step, accepting a contract marriage as her only chance, albeit with a known villain. A sudden awakening shatters her fragile peace when the maids burst in with disturbing news. She is sent to her room because of a broken engagement, but the unexpected news of Count Floret's return changes everything. She sees his return not as a threat, but as an opportunity to finally prove her importance and regain her lost positions. Count Floret returns after 5 years, and his appearance promises not only changes, but also the revelation of old secrets. He bitterly recalls the past, admitting that he neglected his friend's daughter, leaving her in the care of his sister. His late remorse after her death proves that he still has some humanity left in him, making him someone who can be reasoned with. She understands that this man, tormented by guilt, can become her main ally in the fight for survival. She decides to arrange their meeting as an accident, knowing that the Count's sister will interfere with their direct contact. The girl goes to the fountain, the place where they met in the original story, hoping that her plan will work this time too. Her plan falls apart at the very beginning, when she is caught unawares violating her house arrest. Meeting the one she wanted to avoid, most of all, forces her to drop her mask of submission. The image that comes to mind is of a narcissistic braggart whose magic was just empty words. The appearance of Abasan Floret, her longtime tormentor, brings back a shadow of the past into the story. He humiliates her by invading her personal space and tries to break her will with a contemptuous touch. Memory takes her back to the past, full of humiliation and a feeling of powerlessness, when she did not yet know the rules of this cruel game. Even realizing his insignificance, she cannot get rid of the deep-rooted fear that binds her from within. He smugly predicts her imminent end, confident that with the return of her true owners, her days are numbered. His pathetic threats suddenly give her strength, and her fear is replaced by cold determination. Now she is ready to challenge him, anticipating the moment when she can demonstrate her true strength. He tries to ridicule her confidence by pointing out her lack of magic, but she doesn't rise to the bait. She challenges him to a show of strength, but he merely accuses her of bluffing and stealing. He confidently accepts the challenge, deciding that it is time to teach her a lesson and finally break her insolence. He puts her secret on the line, demanding that she hand over the artifact whose existence he is so sure of. She easily agrees to his terms, because he is trying to take away what she never had. Her stakes are much higher. She demands not just victory, but his complete humiliation and repentance for all past grievances. He freezes in horror as the water from the fountain rises into the air, obeying her will. She shows him true magic, inaccessible to those like him, and destroys his complacency forever. The sudden appearance of his sister interrupts their duel, bringing him back from the world of magic to reality. He tries to hide his shock behind a mask of anxiety, but his world will never be the same again. She tries to hide her true nature behind a mask of gratitude, but her sharp gaze notices someone else's thing on her brother. She speculates about the whereabouts of others, presenting Giselle as withdrawn and unsociable to reinforce her image as a caring sister. Her playful curiosity about the mysterious artifact in his pocket is met with his cold seriousness. His face becomes an impenetrable mask, hiding a secret that he does not intend to reveal even to her. She cleverly uses Abasan's fascination with magic as a pretext to extract more information from her brother. His irritation grows. He is not going to account to her for his actions. Behind her carefree laughter lies burning jealousy and resentment that he values the memory of another more than his own family. A rainbow suddenly appears in the sky, distracting them, creating a truly magical atmosphere in the garden. They are both amazed by this miracle, a rainbow of pure mana, the creation of which was thought to be impossible. He freezes, because he has only seen something like this once, and this memory is associated with someone he could never forget. A bright image emerges in his memory at the fountain, where the rainbow was created just for him. This memory still makes his heart skip a beat with delight, just like on that distant day. The sister proudly attributes this miracle to her son, calling him the family diamond and the result of hard training. She persistently suggests that her brother talk to his nephew about magic, not suspecting that the real author of the miracle is standing right next to him. Their conversation is interrupted by the sight of the defeated Abasan and the calm figure of the girl who destroyed their illusion. Her face contorts with rage and disbelief as she realizes that her precious son has been humiliated. The girl feigns innocence and claims that the rainbow is just an accidental side effect of her magic. Humiliated and crushed, he is forced to listen to her reminder of the promise he made. She awaits the fulfillment of his duty with cold calm, enjoying her complete victory. Her triumph ends with a silent command demanding his complete and unconditional obedience. She coldly watches their humiliation, mentally anticipating their pathetic excuses. The realization hits them like an icy shower. All this time, the one with the real power was the one they considered a non-entity. His pride is shattered, and he spews impotent accusations, unable to accept his crushing defeat. Her icy calm turns to cruel mockery when she offers to help him fulfill his humiliating promise. An invisible force mercilessly forces him into submission, crunching him to his knees against his will. The mother's cry of despair pierces the air as she watches her son being broken before her eyes. She faces her mother's wrath with an angelic face, playing the role of an innocent victim in a performance she has staged. The mother, in desperation, seeks support from her brother, not realizing that he is no longer on her side. Hatred boils in her eyes as she tries to denigrate the girl. He ignores his sister's hysteria because his attention is focused on the only question that now matters. His world is turned upside down by her simple confession, because such power is available only to a select few. Even a humiliated enemy recognizes her superiority, for the purity of her mana is unattainable. The mother, in impotent rage, tries to hurt her by reminding her of her runaway fiancé, but only makes a fool of herself. His anger turns on his sister when he learns of a secret conspiracy behind his back. The mother's lie is shattered by the feigned bewilderment of the girl, who destroys her alibi with one question. He passes an icy sentence on her, postponing her punishment until later and making her freeze in fear. She tries to justify herself by hiding behind dirty rumors, but her concern looks like betrayal. He firmly puts her in her place, reminding her that he always has the last word. His face softens as he looks at the girl, and the warmth of long-forgotten memories awakens in his eyes. The brother's sudden tenderness shocks the sister, while his thoughts are carried away to a past full of light and hope. His nostalgia for the past looks like madness, and she can't understand what's hidden behind that strange smile. A flash of memory takes him back to the past, where he and her father were inseparable friends and the terror of the Magic Academy. His strange behavior becomes her main trump card. She decides to play the role of the one he wants to see so much in order to survive. He hands her her father's artifact, entrusting her with not just a thing, but the last link to the past and the key to the future. Their walk together becomes a silent declaration of war for his sister. As she loses control, she is consumed by hatred and envy from within, because this pathetic girl not only gained power, but also took away her brother's attention. The son, in a panic, tries to reach out to his mother, realizing that their situation is becoming increasingly precarious. She decides to act preemptively to destroy the stupid girl before she has time to take revenge on them. His sudden interest takes her by surprise, making her wonder what exactly he sees in her. She understands that history took a different path, and her attempt to marry the old man became the last straw for him. His unconditional trust gives her a weapon, but she understands that the time has not yet come to strike. She knows that she cannot strike yet, because almost everyone in the estate is on the side of her enemy. He reveals to her the secret of an artifact that can change appearance, a rare treasure that no one else in the Empire has. Hearing about the hidden functions her father built into his creations makes her look at the gift she received in a new way. The artifact responds to her touch, but along with the secret power, she also senses a hidden problem. A sudden weakness overwhelms her as she realizes that the artifact is devouring her mana at a monstrous rate. She despairs when she realizes that she possesses a priceless treasure that she cannot use due to lack of strength. He encourages her, assuring her that with her talent, she will quickly restore and increase her magic. Thoughts of her studies at the academy and her helpless position overshadow the joy of finding an ally. His unexpected offer to become her mentor stuns her, giving her hope she never dared to dream of. She realizes that his offer is a priceless gift, her only chance to break out of the shadows and make them see her true potential. Full of determination, she is ready to meet with the mentor immediately to prove that she is worthy of this opportunity. Her first test is the cold contempt of her enemy's mentor, who sees her as nothing more than an uneducated upstart. She meets his skepticism with an icy aura of superiority, silently challenging his ingrained prejudices. His mask of imperturbability cracks at the seams as she reads his mind, and with a cheeky smile, she invites him to test her. He presumptuously agrees, choosing a test for her that he believes is beyond the power of a newcomer. She passes his test with ease, and her triumphant smile speaks louder than any words. His world crumbles when he sees her accomplish in an instant what took his genius student years to do. He clings desperately to the idea of simple luck, because to acknowledge her genius would mean destroying everything he believed in. Hiding his shock, he moves on to the next test, hoping that this time his luck will change. He begins a lecture on strength, not realizing that he is giving it to someone who has surpassed all known limits. By condescendingly talking about the importance of innate talent, he prepares the ground for her humiliation. She takes him at his word, and he, not seeing the catch, offers to measure her strength after forming a monocircle. He takes out the artifact for measurement with a satisfied look, confident that it will only confirm her mediocrity. The artifact in his hands shines with a bright light, demonstrating its power and readiness for the test. He programs her for failure in advance by referring to the lies of her enemies. In his head, he already has a report ready for the count about her complete lack of talent and failed test. Reality crashes down on him as the artifact in her hands flares with unimaginable force. The lie he believed in so much crumbles to dust when its power defies all his expectations. Her innate gift turns out to be so great that it goes beyond all known classifications, promising her unlimited power. Bursting into the office, the mentor brings news that threatens to destroy the usual order of things. There is a look of horror on his face as he tries to put into words what defies any explanation. A desperate attempt to accuse her of deception is shattered by the icy calm of the Count, who is no longer so easy to deceive. His report of her incredible strength and perfect control only confirms what the Count had already begun to suspect. She throws off the mask of a weak and timid orphan, promising to show everyone her new, true self. Her words about the awakened power ignite a spark of hope in his soul that she can change her destiny. The Count's rational arguments are shattered by the stubbornness of his mentor, who cannot accept something that destroys his picture of the world. In despair, he refers to public opinion, because the sudden emergence of talent in a mediocrity undermines all foundations. The recognition of her superiority is so humiliating that he is ready to accuse her of anything just to preserve the remnants of his pride. His words about forbidden magic do not frighten the Count, but only kindle a dangerous curiosity in him. His anger turns to ice because he perceives accusations of forbidden magic as a direct insult to the honor of his house. The verdict is immediate and irrevocable. He expels the mentor who dared to question his decision. He makes the final verdict, not just firing him, but destroying his reputation and future as payment for his blindness and pride. The mentor's pathetic pleas only fuel his contempt for the man who never understood the depth of his mistake. He makes him feel his power, silently letting him know that he has challenged not just a Count, but a powerful magician. His sincere apology gives her a fragile hope that she has finally managed to change the tragic course of history. A new day brings not peace, but a new scandal, which falls on her from the newspaper pages, accusing her of theft. She is horrified to learn that the fired mentor has already given an interview, presenting himself as an unfairly expelled victim. Her world collapses again when she sees that she is the main culprit in this dirty story. She bitterly realizes that no matter how hard she tries, the inexorable law of history continues to work against her. Despair overcomes her when she realizes that even having changed events, she is still a hostage to a predetermined tragic fate. In the depths of despair, a last desperate thought is born, the only chance to find something that can destroy the scenario. A flash of memory illuminates her, and the forgotten proposal of marriage from that very man becomes her last, most daring hope. She makes her move by appearing before the Duke, a man whose dark reputation could be her salvation. With icy calm, she accepts his proposal, because a contract marriage with a villain is the best way to rewrite her history. Her unexpected appearance with documents in her hands takes him by surprise, disrupting the usual course of his solitary life. She presents him with her dossier as a sign of trust, offering not just marriage, but a mutually beneficial business alliance. A structured dossier, including an analysis of all recent incidents, shows that this is not a naive girl, but a serious player. He is amazed by her professionalism, because the dossier is compiled as if an experienced strategist worked on it. He cannot hide his admiration, realizing that this girl is not only beautiful, but also has a sharp mind and incredible insight. Her impeccable work is not just a talent, but an awakening of a secret power hidden in her father's legacy. The secret turns out to be a magic spell for editing, a unique tool that makes it indispensable. She recalls how she accidentally discovered this gift, a secret that was revealed thanks to a hint from her ally. To her relief, this new ability costs almost no mana, making it the perfect secret weapon. Her denial that she had a mentor only increases his interest, since her innate talent seems impossible. The idea that such a genius is a natural makes him see her as more than just a person. His sudden awe takes her by surprise, as she has no idea that he sees in her not magic, but a divine manifestation. Sensing that the moment has come, she goes on the offensive, deciding to consolidate her advantage with a couple of new conditions. She begins her bargaining, and her first demand concerns the newspaper that dared to blacken her name. With a cold smile, she demands that he use his power and destroy those who tried to humiliate her, because now he stands behind her. She coldly explains that unnecessary attention due to false rumors could interfere with their common plans. He agrees with her logic without hesitation, realizing that all means are good to achieve the goal, and awaits her next condition with interest. Her second demand, bold and straightforward, is an advance payment, which should serve as a guarantee of their deal and her independence. Behind her confident smile lies a bitter past experience that has taught her not to trust anyone, especially in a world where everything can be bought and sold. He instantly agrees to her condition, and she, almost without making a slip of the tongue, thanks her master. The contract is for 1 year, and during that time, she intends to create such a scandal that her family will forever give up trying to control her life. She easily adds new clauses to the contract, because creating problems is her main talent, which she intends to use to the fullest extent. The main condition is her safety, because she understands perfectly well that her actions can lead not only to attacks, but also to an attempted murder. Her cold calculation and foresight into the future do not cause him fear, but genuine curiosity and admiration. He agrees to all her conditions, and she, with an icy smile, promises her client that their family will face such a scandal from which they will never recover. He signs a contract, freeing her from all obligations. But this freedom seems like just a gilded cage. The news that his estate already has an heir brings her great relief, lifting another burden from her shoulders. She decides to ask a personal question, sensing that there is more than just business interest hidden behind his coldness. Her question about his hatred of marriage hangs in the air, because even a fictitious union with him seems too real and frightening to her. He tries to dispel her doubts, but the contract he holds out seems to her like a line beyond which there will be no turning back. He speaks coldly of the ineffectiveness of marriage, seeing it as nothing more than a hindrance to his research and a waste of time. His cynical lecture on the downsides of marriage makes her realize that she has gotten involved with a man for whom feelings are just a variable in the equation. He suddenly interrupts his reasoning, adding that their union has another, much more serious obstacle. The last condition turns out to be the most difficult. Their marriage requires the approval of 5 mysterious people. This news puts her entire plan in jeopardy, as convincing 5 strangers becomes an almost impossible task. Her fate now depends on the Council of Elders of House Kalinos. The Council of Elders is not just people, but an impregnable fortress, an elite that decides the fate of the duchy. 10 faceless figures in identical clothes, a single and formidable mechanism, ready to administer justice. In a duchy where war with demons has become commonplace, old laws give way to cruel necessity. Here, power is concentrated in the hands of 2, the Duke and the Council, and their fragile agreement decides everything. Even in this truncated version of democracy, its fate depends on a simple majority vote. The tension in the room reaches its peak as one of the council members prepares to raise the main question. The main theme becomes his marriage, and the Duke's personal life becomes a matter of national importance. Her name sounds like a death sentence, and now she, Giselle Fleuret, finds herself at the very center of this political storm. The chairman of the council, Hennessy Kalinos, puts an end to the discussion, and his look does not bode well. His one word cancels out 5 voices, and the fragile balance collapses, leaving her fate hanging by a thread. His decision meets with timid resistance, because the report seems convincing enough without a personal meeting. But a shadow of doubt has already been sown in the council, and some are ready to reconsider their decision, trusting in the choice of the Duke. He is irritated by their spinelessness, because he sees in this not a search for truth, but a pathetic attempt to curry favor with the Duke. He issues an ultimatum, realizing that his power on the council is not as absolute as he would like. The chairman abruptly ends the meeting, leaving everyone perplexed and postponing the decision indefinitely. His thoughts are not occupied by the Duke's marriage, but by something much more important and personal that haunts him. A mysterious letter from an anonymous sender informs him that his book has sold, an event he has been waiting for so long. A fee of 1 silver coin does not matter, because what is important to him is the very fact of recognition of his many years of work. The unexpected joy that his book has finally found its reader transforms him, making him forget about everything in the world. His desperate search for recognition leads him to a bookshop where he hopefully inquires about his one and only creation. The indifferent salesman barely glances at him, not suspecting that the author of that very book on ethics stands before him. Hope turns to horror when he learns that the books, including his work, are being prepared for disposal as hopeless surplus stock. His world collapses with one indifferent word from a seller who considers his book just trash that needs to be gotten rid of. A sudden revelation strikes him like lightning. He is the author of that same pathetic book, sold in a single copy. The word pathetic echoes in his soul, turning his pride in his work into dust and ashes. He bitterly recalls his pride, which did not allow him to use his name to ensure a decent future for the book. His fists clench in impotent rage and humiliation, because he could not even imagine that his work would be trampled so. The unexpected appearance of a girl with his book in her hands, and her words that the book is interesting, become his salvation. Her words sound like music to him, because this stranger became the first person who truly appreciated his work. The realization that this mysterious girl is his only reader turns his world upside down. Her plan was simple and brilliant. To conquer the council, she had to strike at the very heart, at the main weakness of its chairman. She knew his secret. Behind the mask of the formidable chairman hid a writer dreaming of fame and recognition. His secret passion was not just a hobby for him, but a way to prove to himself that he was worth something without his power. But constant criticism and a complete lack of sales were slowly killing him, undermining his self-confidence and shattering his psyche. In the original story, this desperation pushed him to take the crazy step of publicly revealing his identity. His book became a bestseller, but fame brought only disappointment, because readers found it boring and empty. She understands that this fair and competent man, who is hungry for recognition, is her key to victory and her ideal target. Her simple answer to his question, whether she has read the book, becomes the beginning of a carefully calculated manipulation. She presents him with his own philosophy, turning the purchase of the book into an act of nobility and giving him the helping hand he so desperately needed. The realization that someone not only bought, but thoughtfully read his work, hits him like an avalanche of emotions. She strikes again by inviting him for tea to cement her success and draw him into her game. She reveals her identity, and the name Giselle Fleuret rings out like a gunshot in the deafening silence of the bookstore. An epiphany comes to him, and he realizes that his only admirer and the Duke's scandalous fiancée are one and the same person. He sees her actions as subtle manipulation, but she insists with disarming sincerity that her admiration for the book was genuine. Her cold confidence makes him doubt his conclusions, because she doesn't even ask him to believe her. She delivers a crushing blow by revealing that she deduced his authorship by comparing the style with his official work. Her deduction was impeccable. Having learned about his investments in the bookstore, she came to confirm her guess. His world collapses when he realizes that she not only guessed, but methodically exposed his deepest secret. He is crushed and humiliated, realizing how easily this girl saw through him and forced him to voluntarily give himself up. Humiliated and crushed, Hennessy realizes that this girl is not who she seems, and he has nothing more to say to her. Giselle is about to leave, but he throws a threat after her in desperation, realizing that he cannot let her go. She makes her final move by declaring that his excellent book only needs a few touches to be perfect. His interest is piqued when she confidently declares that she knows how to correct these shortcomings. Giselle makes him an offer he can't refuse. She promises him the fame and recognition he's always dreamed of. She looks at him with a victorious smile, knowing that now he is in her power and will never let go. Her promise seems like a pipe dream, because making a book known throughout the empire is an impossible task. Hennessy tries to hide his excitement behind a mask of suspicion, not understanding why she is making him such an offer. She states her price, his vote on the council, and a share of the future glory she will provide him. Her impudence discourages him, But Giselle reminds him with a smile that he has absolutely nothing to lose in this deal. Her confident gaze takes him by surprise, and he cannot understand where this girl gets so much daring self-confidence from. He feels like he is being drawn into an elaborate trap, but some part of him is already ready to give in. His pride screams that he doesn't need help, but the temptation to see his book succeed is stronger. After a painful struggle with himself, he finally gives in, agreeing to meet her halfway just this once. She barely holds back a triumphant smile, promising that he will never regret his decision. At dinner, Count Florette notices her tired appearance. Unaware of the storms hidden behind her calm, she hides her fatigue with a slight smile. Because her big game has just begun, she casually mentions that she is helping an author with a book and complains about the lack of a maid, throwing a stone into Mariposa's garden. The girl's words take the Count by surprise, because he was sure that he had taken care of her, and his sister's lies begin to come to light. Mariposa tries to wriggle out of it, but her clumsy excuses only increase the tension, and her mask begins to crack at the seams. She watches her rival with icy contempt, knowing that her brazen lie will soon come to light. She decides to add fuel to the fire, because even a busy Count cannot help but notice the strange things happening in his house. She decides not to rush things, knowing that all her enemies will sooner or later reveal themselves. She leaves under the pretext of wanting to see the book on the shelves, hiding her true goal, meeting the one who will change her destiny. She goes to the promised meeting, unaware that her little plan has already created an unprecedented stir. Her plan worked flawlessly. The book on self-development instantly became a top bestseller. The excitement around the book reaches its peak, causing real hysteria among both the nobility and the common people. In the bookstores, real battles are raging for the last copy, while she and her new ally watch this triumph from the sidelines. Hennessy watches in shock, unable to believe what this girl has done. He can't believe his eyes, because the book that had been gathering dust on the shelves for a year became the most coveted treasure in the empire thanks to her. She realized that the previous failure was inevitable because the book never had a chance to attract attention. In a world filled with identical self-help books, she had to create something completely new. Among the thousands of volumes in the library, their eyes were drawn to one mysterious book that no one knew anything about. He enthusiastically presented the new book to the public, whose dazzling appearance made everyone turn around. The girl realized that a bright cover was not enough, because now she needed to retain the reader, who could not stand long sentences. She ruthlessly cut the text down to the bare essentials to make it light and engaging. Using the secret power of the artifact, she combined all the parts together, putting a piece of magic into the book. The guide she created promised the incredible, becoming a billionaire by spending just 1 minute a day. The men read the book in amazement, unable to believe that the path to wealth could be so simple. The old man looked at them with a wise gaze, knowing that this book could not be put down without being read to the end. She prepared to pay the bills with cold determination, interested only in the method of transferring the huge sum. His generous gesture stunned her, because the amount was so large that it made her doubt the size of her own magical safe. She delayed the decision, instructing him to prepare a sales report first. Hiding her true intentions, she thanked him with a smile, modestly downplaying her contribution, although it was her talent that made the book great. Confidence flashed in her eyes, because she knew that without his faith in her, nothing would have worked out. He regretfully admitted his mistake, realizing that his bias had almost cost him his alliance with the genius. She looked forward to their work together, feeling that this was just the beginning of something great. In the middle of the night's silence, his faithful assistant interrupted him, addressing him with respect and concern. The news that came concerned the most important thing. The Council of Elders had finally made a decision about his marriage. He took off his glasses with a mixture of hope and fear, preparing to hear the verdict that would change his fate. The assistant reported a triumph, as the main enemy of their alliance had finally surrendered, opening the way to official resolution. He realized with a smug smile that now nothing was stopping him from connecting his life with the one whose name he pronounced with special feeling. Her cunning plan worked, because she had initially aimed for the very top, knowing that the key to victory lay in the hands of one person. He couldn't hide his admiration, amazed at her ability to achieve the impossible. His composure cracked when he was once again called by a false name, reminding him of his insignificance. He was entrusted with delivering a mysterious letter sealed with sealing wax, realizing that a lot depended on it. The next order was even more significant, because a family dinner could only mean one thing. An important event was coming. He was determined, because the time had come to announce to the whole world his decision that would change everything. She handed him the book with a soft smile, its mysterious appearance arousing genuine curiosity. She calmly explained that this was the very book that she had helped to give new life to, modestly remaining silent about her true genius. He was impressed by her bold idea, and she confirmed with a satisfied smile that a catchy name was the key to success. Time was running out for her, but she managed to do the main thing: leave a book that would soon turn his world upside down. As she left, she casually dropped a request that was actually a carefully thought-out move to advance her. Left alone with the book, he began to wonder whether Giselle had contributed to the creation of the book. His face expressed genuine amazement, because the content of the book exceeded all his wildest expectations. He found a possible explanation for their similarities, but the unique narrative style still haunted him. He was completely confused, because the book, which he considered a dud, turned out to be a real masterpiece. His world was shaken by the realization that this brilliant text was written by a girl who had never attended the academy. The conversation with his assistant only confirmed his suspicions. The book had already become a sensation that everyone was talking about. He could hardly hide his shock when he learned that people were lining up to get their hands on this incredible work. He read the book with a smile until a random name in the acknowledgments made his heart skip a beat. His assistant merely laughed at the guess, considering the connection between the scandalous lady and the popular author impossible. Anger flashed in his eyes as he realized that the author had taken a huge risk by including the name of a girl with such a dubious reputation in the book. His face twisted with sudden comprehension, and he demanded an answer, realizing that he had forgotten something terrible. In a fit of rage, he expelled the assistant, unable to bear the reminder of his own mistake. When the anger subsided, an icy doubt settled in his soul, telling him that he was missing something. He began to realize that during his absence, he might have missed something important, something that was happening right under his nose. He was haunted by the thought that Giselle had been treated with extreme disdain and that he had been blind to her suffering. He could no longer ignore his suspicions and decided to personally sort everything out, no matter what it cost him. At that moment, the one who could be the key to the solution appeared, his younger brother, whose face kept its secrets. He began the conversation with icy calm, preparing to announce news that would change everything. At the luxurious table, he dropped the news that sounded louder than any thunder. He had a bride. His words struck like lightning, and the younger brother froze, unable to believe what he heard. He jumped up in despair, hoping to hear a familiar name, but deep down, he already knew that disappointment awaited him. The name, spoken with cold indifference, sounded like a sentence, destroying all his hopes. The image of a timid girl whose bad reputation made such a union completely unthinkable came to his mind. The story of love at first sight sounded like a mockery, because he could not believe in such a sudden passion. He began to feverishly recall all the oddities he had noticed in his brother's behavior lately. The sudden change in style, from dark to light, now seemed not an accident, but an ominous omen. And even the absence of research materials, which he never parted with, now took on a frightening meaning. A terrifying thought crossed his mind. His brother, broken by family pressure, decided to kidnap the lady and force her to marry him. He desperately tried to appeal to his reason, but his older brother had already thought of everything, several steps ahead of him. His last hope for a reprieve was dashed, for his brother was deaf to any arguments. With icy calm, he shifted the most terrible task to him, to tell his mother about everything. His blood ran cold at the thought of this timid girl meeting their mother, the woman who held all of high society in fear. The last bastion of his hopes fell when he learned that the Council of Elders had already given their consent. He couldn't believe his ears. This quiet lady herself went to the council and settled all the issues. The brother left, throwing out a parting phrase that made it clear that this was a forced marriage, and he didn't care about it. He returned to his strange researches with feigned indifference, leaving chaos and bewilderment behind him. The younger brother was overcome with icy horror, because he realized that this marriage was a death trap from which there was no escape. He ran in panic, realizing that he had to stop his brother before he did something irreparable. He burst into the closed garden, desperately searching for his mother. the only one who could prevent the disaster. In a quiet backwater, she heard the news that her niece had been hurt while trying to tame a ghostly beast. At the elegant table, one of the ladies was wearily telling how a recent incident had plunged the entire house into chaos. She admitted with concern that although the girl had merely fainted, dirty rumors could ruin her future. In a tense silence, she began her speech, hinting that passion for what you love changes everything. The mother of the family, Juliana, stated with cold confidence that there was nothing shameful in the wounds received on the way to the goal. One of the interlocutors expressed concern for the girl's reputation, but her words hung in the air, finding no response. She made it clear that awakening talent is much more important than empty talk, because the times of modesty are long gone. However, her calm was deceptive, and she tiredly decided that it was time to marry off her wayward son as soon as possible. Her piercing gaze made everyone around her cower in fear as she thought with disdain of the weakness of the other ladies. He burst into the room in despair, finally finding his mother, his last hope. She coldly reprimanded him for his inappropriate behavior, but he, breathless with emotion, tried to convey the terrible news. His words about the Council of Elders approving the marriage sounded like thunder, and her face distorted in surprise for a moment. The news of the bride's imminent arrival ignited an icy fury in her eyes that foreshadowed a storm. He uttered a name that became the point of no return: Giselle Fleuret. Repeating the name, she knew with cold determination that she had to prepare for a meeting that would become a battle. And while a scandal was brewing in the Kalinos estate, a dull irritation reigned in the house of Count Fleuret. Two maids were indignantly discussing the order to serve a lady they did not consider worthy. The new maid had difficulty hiding her contempt, for she was about to serve the one whose reputation had been destroyed. Her lips curled into a contemptuous smile, because even calling this girl a mistress was an insult to her. A shadow suddenly appeared behind her, with a devilish smile, and whispered about gossip, which made the maid's blood run cold. With icy calm, she put the impudent maid in her place, showing with just one look who was the real boss here. The hidden threat in her words was clear. Now the maid would have to earn the right to address her with respect. She waved away her insolence with a disarming smile, leaving the maid to seethe with impotent rage. The maid looked after her, unable to believe such a change, suspecting that her mistress was out of her mind. The image of a submissive and weak girl came to her mind, and the contrast with the current insolence seemed unbearable. Rage overwhelmed her, because this despicable girl dared to challenge her. She descended into the sinister cellar, whose cold walls held many secrets. Driven by suspicion, the maid followed her into the darkness, wondering what her mistress could have forgotten in the wine cellar. The maid could hardly contain her anger as she watched her mistress stroll carefree through the wine cellar. A sly smile froze on her face. The stupid maid had fallen for the provocation. She began her performance by ostentatiously pouring wine straight from the barrel in front of the stunned maid. The maid recognized the expensive wine in horror, realizing that her mistress had crossed all boundaries. She feigned drunkenness with feigned delight, leaving the maid completely bewildered. The maid could not believe her eyes, because the lady was not only drunk, but also behaved completely shamelessly. With a devilish grin, she offered her a drink too, completely throwing the maid off her stride. The maid desperately tried to bring her to her senses, threatening her with the Count's wrath, but all was in vain. She waved off her threats with feigned indifference, calling her a bore and showing complete disdain. With one sharp movement, she broke the tap of the barrel, putting an end to this crazy performance. She called for enjoying the moment with mad joy, plunging everything around into chaos. The maid looked in horror at the spreading puddle of expensive wine, finally convinced of her mistress's madness. The fear of punishment and the mistress's order to keep quiet fought in her soul, but she could not remain on the sidelines. She decided that all she needed was a little scare from this girl to put an end to this madness. Losing her composure, she made the fatal mistake of shouting her name as if she were a commoner. Her desperate attempt to appeal to reason was drowned out by an icy gaze that did not bode well. In an instant, she was at her mercy, receiving a slap in the face that was only the beginning of the punishment. She reminded the maid of her place with disdain, showing that there would be a high price to pay for her insolence. The maid couldn't believe her ears as she chased her away with a mocking grin. She realized that this girl was not just crazy, she was the devil, and her madness must be reported immediately. She watched the maid with a mocking smile as she ran to complain. not suspecting that she had become a pawn in her game. A satisfied smile lit up her face. There was one less obstacle, and the path to the goal was open. She knew that time was short, because she had to finish everything before the one for whom this wine flood was arranged returned. As predicted, the spilled wine activated a secret mechanism hidden in the floor. Yielding to her will, Paul opened what he had been keeping for years, a magically protected hiding place. In her hands was the main target, the hidden ledger of the Floret family, the key to their downfall. A sudden scream interrupted her triumph. The one she had been waiting for burst into the basement, demanding that she return what she had stolen. He froze in amazement, recognizing in her the scandalous lady, and she greeted him with a cold smile, ready for the decisive move. Fate brought her together with a former chief accountant, a genius whose career was destroyed by injustice. She handed him the book as salvation, offering not just an alliance, but a chance to take back everything that had been taken from him. He was shocked to the depths of his soul, because she knew his most terrible secret. She offered him a deal, promising to keep his secret in exchange for two favors. The first condition was a priceless artifact capable of storing untold riches. She knew everything about his artifact, even its most secret properties, and he did not understand how she knew this. The second condition was his help when he returned to his post, and this offer was not just blackmail, but a path to his revival. She mentioned double-entry bookkeeping, making it clear that she had not only found the book, but had also unraveled all its secrets. Her words that she trusted only his genius sounded like a bolt from the blue. He couldn't believe that after so many years of disdain, someone had finally recognized his talent. For the first time in a long time, he could not hold back his tears, overwhelmed with gratitude and hope. She handed him a contract with a beaming smile, offering him not just a job, but a chance for a new life. Their conversation was interrupted by the fury of a woman who burst into the basement and accused the girl of all mortal sins. She greeted her with an innocent smile, casually remarking that she had found something interesting. The truth she revealed about the years of theft made the woman look at her brother in horror. He demanded an answer with icy calm, and his look did not bode well. Meanwhile, in his office, his assistant reported on the results of the investigation, which shed light on the true state of affairs. Under the guise of care was hidden cruelty. The young lady was kept locked up, isolated from the rest of the world. Most of the rumors that defame her name turned out to be vile lies, skillfully fabricated by someone close to her. The main evidence was the accounting books of the secret business that the Madame had been running under an assumed name for the past 5 years. There was no mention of any expenses in the reports, indicating widespread financial fraud. The report was designed to cover all traces, and this was the final proof of her guilt. With each new piece of evidence, he realized more and more clearly that her image was just a skillfully created lie. He brought down accusations on his sister, providing her with a list of unprofitable cases that she could not help but know about. His icy disappointment was stronger than any excuse she could have come up with. In a desperate attempt to save herself, she tried to shift the blame, but the appearance of the former accountant ruined all her plans. He bitterly realized the full depth of their incompetence, because they had not just fired, but humiliated a true genius. In his hands was not just a book, but a revolutionary accounting system, and he could not understand how its creator could be so blindly overthrown. Her pathetic excuses were drowned out by his icy gaze, which left no chance for forgiveness. He passed his sentence, temporarily removing her from all family affairs, depriving her of power and influence. Her indignation and accusations against the girl were shattered by his unyielding will. He coldly cut off her lie, making it clear that he had personally checked all the evidence and could not be deceived. She looked with disdain at her sister, who was trying to blame the one she had treated like dirt her entire life. He wearily interrupted her whining, no longer wanting to listen to her lying excuses. Her power had collapsed, and now, exposed, she could no longer act as freely as before. He asked curiously how she managed to find the book, and she innocently lied that she came across it by accident. He easily believed her words, which caused complete bewilderment among the accountants standing nearby. Having dealt with her sister, she immediately demanded that the maid be punished as well, pointing at her. The maid desperately tried to defend herself, but her words about being hit first were drowned out by the general chaos. She admitted her guilt with icy calm, but her look left no doubt that she regretted nothing. She turned everything upside down by declaring that it was not her fault that she punished ill-mannered servants. He stated in a menacing voice that if all this was true, he could not turn a blind eye to such flagrant disobedience. He offered to fire the maid, and she accepted it with delight, because her revenge was just beginning. His next condition was a death sentence for the maid, depriving her not only of her job, but also of her future. In desperation, she rushed to her former mistress for help, but she only coldly turned away, leaving her to be torn apart. Her world was crumbling because she could not understand how her brother could so blindly trust someone she considered a worthless person. Yesterday's outcast was now the center of everyone's attention, and no one could understand the reason for such a sudden change. The latest newspapers were full of scandalous headlines about the discord in their family, airing dirty laundry for all to see. He read the news with surprise, not expecting that the events in their house would become public knowledge so quickly. Particular attention from the press was focused on Lady Giselle, who was openly accused of alcohol addiction. He realized with a sly smile that all this was done intentionally, because it was much more reliable this way. She thought with satisfaction that now, with such a reputation, no self-respecting family would approve of her as a bride. She realized with horror that her risky plan was just a desperate attempt to hide her connection with the Kalinos family. Everything was supposed to be decided today during the meeting. He clarified that only his mother and younger brother would be at the meeting, and this added to the tension. A gap in the original story surfaced in her memory, and the question of the former duke's fate made her go cold. Hiding her true motives behind a sweet smile, she asked him for one favor. Her request was crazy. They had to play the most loving couple in the world. She suggested that he play for the crowd, and to her surprise, he did not object. A sparkle of excitement flashed in his eyes, and he agreed to her intriguing proposal. They were already awaited in the dining room, and the tension could have been cut with a knife. The younger brother invited her in with a fake smile, and the show began. Her cold tone immediately set the mood for the meeting, since being late was just a pretext to show her power. She decided to ignore her daughter-in-law, hiding her contempt and unwillingness to ignite a conflict ahead of time behind icy calm. He introduced her with feigned calm, holding her close to him as if trying to protect her from her mother's gaze. His words sounded like a challenge, and she accepted them with the grace of a queen, making a graceful curtsy. She introduced herself with dignity, and her name sounded in the dead silence, breaking the icy calm. She met her predatory gaze with a smile, ready for a battle in which the loser would lose everything. In her office, she received reports, gathering information that was to become her main weapon. She double-checked every fact, not allowing even a shadow of doubt in the accuracy of the report that would decide the fate of her daughter-in-law. Dirty rumors about her affairs with other men were exactly what she was looking for to destroy her rival's reputation. But behind the rumors, there was a tragedy. She was considered a burden in her own family, and she cried every night from loneliness. The mother of the family gave her verdict. Worthless and weak, she is not needed by their family. Juliana decided to show her guest what it meant to challenge the Kalinos family. There was tension at the table, and even Giselle's formal greeting could not dispel it. The mother began her game by mockingly recalling her youngest son's childhood in order to prick her daughter-in-law. Every word she said was poison, wrapped in a sweet shell of memories, and the heroine understood this perfectly well. She smiled with contempt as she finished her story, and that smile was more terrible than any threat. The girl realized that the ruler of high society was trying to portray her as a sweet fool who was embarrassing those around her, but she only laughed in response, showing that she was not so easily broken, because there was too much glory at stake. The older brother tried to defuse the situation, but his words only delayed the inevitable storm. She had sensed hostility from the start, and now that the game had begun, she was prepared for any move. The first attack was not long in coming. She was served a humiliatingly small portion, but the girl decided not to be distracted from her goal. Her fiancé tried to intervene, but the domineering mother immediately cut him off, not allowing him to get a word in. The heroine made her move by accidentally dropping the knife, and this minor oversight became the beginning of her counterattack. Juliana, with false sympathy, blamed everything on the maid, continuing her cruel game. The elder brother, playing along with the bride, suggested that she leave to fix her torn dress, apologizing for the servant's oversight. His mother rejected his apology with a venomous smile, hinting that in their family they didn't pay attention to such trifles. She began her story of past hardships, painting a picture of a harsh life in order to humiliate her daughter-in-law. The woman concluded with disdain that such a fragile girl was not capable of bearing the burdens of their race, and ordered the maid to help her up. The Duchess looked at her with a triumphant expression, confident that she had proven to everyone that this girl had no place at their table. The young man could no longer remain silent, and steel entered his voice as he told his mother that she had gone too far. He could no longer contain his anger, but his mother coldly declared that her cruelty was merely a concern for the welfare of the family. His words about inappropriate behavior were drowned out by her icy calm, but the girl decided to take the game into her own hands. She asked innocently if this meant that she would have to endure the hardships of war side by side with her husband. Her bold question made the Duchess and the servants freeze in amazement, because no one expected such a rebuff. She defiantly declared that she was ready to demonstrate her determination to be with her husband everywhere, and not just on the battlefield. Pressing herself against him, she played the role of a lover flawlessly, forcing him to play along sheepishly. With a beaming smile, she confirmed that the marriage license had already been obtained and there was no turning back. She offered, with venomous kindness, to recommend a place for her mother-in-law to retire, since she valued solitude so much. Her mother coldly rejected her proposal, advising her to continue this performance until the wedding. She added with disdain that she doubted her success, since no worthy man would recognize her as a lady. She announced with delight that his mother had given them her blessing, continuing her flawless performance. The younger brother desperately tried to understand why she wanted to marry his brother, but her confidence only increased his confusion. She said with a triumphant smile that the reason was simple. The Duke was crazy about her, and her words sounded like a challenge. He took her hand tenderly, confirming her words and playing his part in this performance flawlessly. They walked away, leaving him all alone, and her parting look was the final touch in their cruel game. He was left alone, trying to comprehend what was happening, unable to believe that their fake love could be true. Left alone, they dropped their masks with relief, and the tension in the air finally subsided. She asked him with a satisfied smile how he liked her introduction, since the main thing had been achieved. The marriage license was in their hands. He acknowledged her incredible talent, but asked her to avoid excessive touching in the future. She asked him with innocent curiosity if he was uncomfortable, and her question caught him off guard. His unexpected admission that his heart was beating faster left her frozen in bewilderment. She was confused, trying to understand what was behind his strange words and this sudden revelation. The tension between them was growing, and this strange atmosphere did not bode well. A thought flashed through her mind, but she immediately pushed it away, unable to believe in such a possibility. He explained his reaction with scientific precision as a release of norepinephrine, destroying any hint of romance. She realized with disappointment that his interest was nothing more than scientific curiosity. The girl decided that the performance was a success, but his strange talk about heartbeats confused her a little. They said goodbye with cold politeness, like two business partners after a successful deal. She asked about her duties before the wedding, and he seemed to remember something important. He announced that she would be assigned a mentor, and not just anyone, but his mother's closest assistant, which was tantamount to a declaration of war. The girl is warned against a mysterious stranger whose influence could prove fatal. She learns his name, and this knowledge only increases her anxious curiosity. Hiding her true motives behind a sweet smile, she decides to get closer to him. At this time, behind her back, they are discussing a secret project related to a dangerous potion. The heroine accidentally overhears a conversation about the dubious success of this project. She catches her interlocutor in a lie, knowing full well that the creation of the potion encountered difficulties. The girl reveals her source of information, notes in a book about rare plants. It turns out that the potion requires an extinct ingredient, which she found in an old book. The man is in a panic, because he does not understand how she managed to reveal his secret. He tries to hide his failure behind a mask of wisdom, but his secret is already known. Under the pretext of a tour, he tries to steer the conversation in another direction, offering to show the laboratory. Behind the facade of science lie terrifying experiments with monsters that inspire primal horror. His creepy grin reveals his dark nature and pride in the monsters that everyone fears. The girl pretends to be naive, hiding her true intentions behind an enthusiastic smile. The tension is mounting as the clock shows that it is time for the decisive meeting. He goes to get permission, leaving her alone and giving her a chance to carry out his plan. Left alone, she prepares to act, because there may not be another chance. A key detail from her past emerges in her memory that could change everything. She remembers that a rare herb was hidden on the badge of a simple servant. Now she needs to get ahead of the enemy and find the servant before others do. She bursts into the service rooms, where she is met with the distrustful looks of the servants. Ignoring their request to leave, she asserts her rights to inspection with a disarming smile. She doesn't care about social conventions. She is ready to break any boundaries for the sake of her goal. Her gaze becomes predatory and focused. She is looking for something she knows only from the past. She quickly scans the faces, discarding one after another in search of the person she needs. Suddenly, she finds her target, and a cry of victory escapes her lips. The confused servant does not understand why the noble lady is pointing to his humble badge. She asks to look at a thing that for him is just a formality, but for her is the key to everything. Without waiting for an answer, she, with the dexterity of a magician, tears the badge from his chest, shocking the servant. She knows that this badge is not just a decoration, but an artifact that responds to magical power. The artifact in her hands awakens, filling with magic and confirming her wildest guesses. Her daring act causes panic, but she ignores the commotion, rushing away with her loot. Suddenly, an angry elder appears, demanding an explanation for the mess she has made. He is furious at her arbitrary actions, but she meets his anger with icy calm. She pretends to be simply lost in boredom, disarming him with her innocent smile. With a victorious look, she shows him her find, turning his accusations into her triumph. She is brought to the council hall, where the stern elders are ready to deliver their verdict. She challenges them, boldly calling herself the beloved bride of the Duke himself. With a beaming smile, she introduces her name, which will now inspire fear in them. Her words have the effect of a bomb going off, leaving the council in shock and her enemy in awe. She intrigues the council, avoiding a direct answer about the purpose of her visit. She shows them a simple servant's badge, turning it into her main trump card. Her confidence makes them doubt. Perhaps this icon is not as simple as it seems. By telling the story of the magical spark, she pushes the council to the only conclusion she needs. She challenges the most distrustful of the elders, forcing him to personally verify her words. The badge reacts to the magic, and the shock on the elders' faces becomes her first victory. The badge contains a legendary herb, and the discovery throws the council into chaos. Everyone congratulates the elder who brought her, not suspecting that it was not his merit. Joy gives way to doubt. There is too little grass, and no one knows how to grow it. She again seizes the initiative, promising to easily solve this problem as well. Her calm confidence discourages him, making him believe in the impossible. She explains her knowledge with an ease that infuriates the elders, but they are forced to give her a chance. The head of the council sees in her actions not a miracle, but cold calculation, and this intrigues him. Despite her protests, he publicly takes her side, betting on this mysterious girl. With a beaming smile, she asks permission to begin, as if she already knew the outcome of her triumph. She is about to reveal a secret so simple that the elders missed it in their pride. The solution was right under their noses. Mix common weeds with a rare catalyst. She easily creates what they have been struggling with for years, proving their superiority. She does not repeat someone else's path. She takes for herself the glory intended for the main character. She triumphantly presents them with the result, forever changing the balance of power in her favor. They can't believe their eyes. The miracle she performed destroys their ideas about the world. He is already celebrating the victory, appropriating its triumph for himself, and basking in the rays of undeserved glory. She coldly interrupts his triumph, reminding him that the main prize is still in her hands. With one icy glance, she makes it clear that her knowledge is a commodity, not a gift. He tries to appeal to her debt, but she reminds him with a smile that she doesn't owe anyone anything yet. She takes pleasure in reminding him of old grievances, turning his past arrogance into a weapon. Doubt, like poison, permeates the ranks of the council. Its authority is crumbling before their eyes. Humiliated and crushed, he falls to his knees, putting on a pathetic show of remorse. Now she dictates the terms, and he is forced to beg for mercy, on which his future depends. He tries to turn his humiliation into a deal, hinting that her forgiveness has a price. She demands his fee with a smile, turning his humiliation into a golden shower. Pretending to be weak, she masterfully puts on a show to get even more out of him. In desperation, he breaks into a scream, offering his last bet on the brink of ruin. With one easy movement, she agrees, securing her unconditional victory. She strikes a second blow by making a condition that will not only enrich herself, but also destroy the enemy's reputation. Her cunning plan leaves the council stumped, as they fail to see the hidden threat in her words. In a bored tone, she gives him an ultimatum that will determine the fate of his main project. He gives in, and at that very moment, she takes out a pre-prepared contract, leaving him no way back. Immersed in books, he misses important news that will soon change the rules of the game. She is bored with dry history. She seeks in ancient texts not knowledge, but real power. He hides his anxiety behind a book, because now his main task is to keep an eye on the one who owns the priceless herb. The day before, a conversation had taken place in a luxurious room that changed the balance of power. He reports to his mistress about the girl's strange behavior, not daring to acknowledge her complete control. Another elder realizes that he underestimated her. This fragile lady has a power that can subjugate even the most powerful. She cuts him off coldly, reminding him of his subordination and making him tremble with fear. An order has been given for total surveillance. Now her every step will be under close observation. She changes tactics, shifting attention from the useless story to what really matters: the secrets of the labs. The secrets of the estate are revealed to her. 3 research centers, each of which keeps its own secrets. Among them, the laboratory under the leadership of the mysterious Madame Juliana stands out, where they create something more than just weapons. The production of magical blades proves that the true power of House Kalinos is hidden from prying eyes. Potions and artifacts are just the tip of the iceberg that hides the true extent of their power. She learns about her personal mage, and this information sparks a new, dangerous curiosity in her. Forbidden fruit is sweet. Being denied access to the lab only strengthens her desire to get inside. She uses her future power and past merits as a battering ram, breaking her way to her goal. She knows how to rewrite the history of failure, turning someone else's mistake into her own personal triumph. It's not just success at stake, but billions, and she won't let a single coin slip away. Huge amounts of money are not a goal, but only a means to gain real magical power. The sudden appearance of a maid interrupts her calculations, returning her from the world of plans to reality. Fate itself comes into her hands. A letter from the one she was just thinking about ends up in her hands. The content of the letter causes panic fear in the observer. He understands that the game is reaching a new level. A letter from Madame Juliana forces her to act immediately, dropping everything for an urgent meeting. Under the pretext of preparing for the wedding, she sets off on a journey, hiding the true purpose of her trip. Meanwhile, in the capital, in the very heart of intrigue, events are brewing that will change everything. In the Imperial Council, influential lords gather in anticipation of news that will shake the empire. The sudden appearance of a powerful duke at the council causes everyone to worry and secretly think about the one who is connected with him. Rumors begin to circulate among the courtiers about the duke's mysterious chosen one, cruel and full of ridicule. The news of his imminent wedding is seen as a political move that benefits everyone except the bride herself. Everyone is talking about the duke, but behind his back, intrigues are already being woven related to his future wife. The conversation turns to her dubious reputation, and poisonous gossip begins to spread throughout the room. Her past is put on display for all to see, turning it into a humiliating story of public disgrace. Rumors of her disgrace reach her father, and every word cuts him to the heart. His fist crashes down on the table, and his rage drowns out the poisonous whispers of the gossips. He is ready to tear the offenders to pieces, protecting his daughter's honor from dirty tongues. The duke's sudden appearance cuts through the air, his cold presence freezing the anger. The entire council freezes in horror, their petty intrigues seeming insignificant before his power. They try to justify themselves, but he is only interested in one thing: the name of the woman they dared to touch. When spoken aloud, her name becomes a death sentence for anyone who dares to denigrate it. The duke explodes in silent rage, unleashing his wrath on the pathetic gossip. His icy gaze leaves no doubt. No one dares to pronounce her name without due trepidation. The girl's father is shocked. He does not understand why the most powerful man in the empire is protecting her. The duke reassures the count, but his calmness only highlights the gap between their worlds. His promise of a quick meeting sounds like a sentence for enemies and a blessing for allies. A predatory smile turns an invitation into a royal decree that is impossible to disobey. After the humiliating advice, he leaves the palace, not even suspecting that a new meeting awaits him. She greets him with a beaming smile, as if there had been no rumors or shame. Her request seems innocent, but behind it lies a serious conversation that will change everything. Over a cup of coffee, she creates the illusion of a family idol, lulling his vigilance. Madame Juliana springs into action, setting in motion wedding preparations and demanding a meeting of the families. Her words are a gentle reminder that actually sounds like an ultimatum about the dowry. She catches a sideways glance with a grin. She has already been written off, and this is her main mistake. She starts an innocent conversation about coffee, but in reality, she is looking for the key to his heart. He shares his passion for overseas spices, unwittingly revealing his weaknesses to her. She throws out a bait with a smile, hinting at her ambitions in his sphere of influence. Her words awaken a feeling of guilt in him. He remembers his past betrayal and his blindness. A dark obsession born of despair and old friendship emerges in his memory. He was once a ghost with one goal, and that shadow still follows him. He makes a decision. From now on, he will be her shield, her support, and her main ally. His concern manifests itself in an unexpected proposal that could change her destiny. She doubts that her age and past could be an obstacle to entering the academy. He gives her the right to choose, but she is already ready to voice her only, most cherished desire. She goes on the offensive, pointing out a hole in the finances that no one noticed. With an angelic smile, she offers him a deal he can't refuse. Find the stolen money in exchange for the same. He agrees, not believing in her success, but she already knows that she will succeed. She triumphantly receives his promise, sealing a deal that will solve all her problems. Now she has not only money, but also a cunning plan to solve the dowry problem. Meanwhile, the Duke is also playing his own game, calculating every step to strengthen their future alliance. She offers him her help, but her offer sounds like a challenge rather than a request. Without a shadow of a doubt, he offers her his help in revenge, uniting them against a common enemy. Her insight amazes him. She sees right through his soul, reading his darkest desires. He gives her an ultimatum, offering her a choice between the power of his family and his personal, unlimited support. He offers her all of himself, erasing the last boundaries between them. In response to his vow, she proposes a simple date, turning the great sacrifice into the beginning of their story. While a new union is being born, in another house, a brother demands an answer from his sister for the silence that has destroyed someone else's reputation. His words hurt her. She doesn't understand why he blames her, and not the one who caused the rumors. She tries to shift the blame, feeling betrayed and unfairly accused of other people's sins. Her cry from the heart is an accusation of mistrust, because he believed a stranger's girl and not his own sister. He cuts short her hysteria by harshly reminding her of the responsibility she so easily brushed aside. With cold determination, she accepts the responsibility, and in her hand is the letter that will become her weapon. An invitation from the powerful House of Kalinos is a shock, as they shouldn't even know they exist. She quickly finds an explanation. Her modest coffee shop has become the key to the attention of the Duke himself. She offers a dangerous deal, freedom in exchange for a favor, and her predatory smile does not bode well. Her hands tremble with tension. Today, she will either charm the Duke or disappear forever. She set a trap of rumors, and now she only needs one thing, to prove that she is better than her rival. His arrival is her chance, her last chance to break her brother's obsession and take his place. She greets him with feigned joy, hiding her cold and cruel calculation behind flattery. The rumors were true. Behind his angelic appearance lies the look of a real killer. He didn't come alone. He wants to introduce her to his fiancé, and this changes all the rules of the game. She feigns delight, turning the shocking news into the greatest honor for her house. She is already imagining her ideal rival, without even suspecting who will now walk through this door. His mysterious smile and invitation to enter is the beginning of the end of her carefully laid plan. A beautiful stranger appears at the door, confident in her nobility and grace. She gives a defiant look, and her confidence almost turns into mockery of Lady Mariposa. Giselle's sudden appearance takes the Duke by surprise. He cannot believe his eyes. The young man furiously demands an answer from his companion, But she only smiles innocently. The girl with fiery hair listens in a daze as her rival announces herself as the Duke's bride. The heroine looks for refutation in her lover's eyes, but his silence speaks for itself. The guy asks with a cold grin if anyone has any problems, enjoying the effect he has produced. The white-haired beauty does not hide her triumph, because her plan to humiliate her rival worked perfectly. The girl came to tell a couple of stories that can ruin someone else's happiness. Giselle is ready to reveal the whole truth about the rumors that Mariposa spread among the nobles. Whispers behind her back and contemptuous glances hurt Mariposa to the very heart. She desperately tries to stop the exposure, but her rival only hides behind false virtue. The blonde lady prepares to begin her story with pleasure, ignoring the pleas. The first accusation of cruelty and ridicule falls on the heroine like a blow. Humiliation, slave labor, and family hell. She lists all the circles of hell she went through. Enraged by the slander, the girl with fiery hair releases her hidden magical power. She herself didn't believe that she had mana. The rumors almost made her doubt herself. Humiliated and defeated, the heroine falls to her knees, not understanding why she endured for so long. Her rival offers her a new deal, more profitable than a partnership with the Duke. With a victorious smile, she demands that the ownership of the coffee shop be transferred to her. Humiliated but not broken, she sees the coffee shop as her only chance for salvation. 4 days later, the news of the brazen takeover of the aristocrat's business leaves everyone in shock. Mariposa's lawyer is confident of victory, promising that without a signed contract, she has nothing to worry about. She grins, reminding herself that even the most noble people have boundaries that cannot be crossed. Her eyes burn with contempt for Giselle. She does not believe in the audacity of her rival, who dared to encroach on her coffee shop. Thoughts about the money invested in the coffee shop and bribes are interrupted by the maid's panicked scream. Annoyed by the intrusion, she eagerly awaits an explanation of what else might have happened. Right in front of the entrance to her establishment, someone had erected a brick wall, blocking access inside. The coffee shop workers are in a panic, fearing the owner's wrath and not knowing if they will be able to open today. A young man is humiliated by his boss, who reminds him that his limp could scare away customers. The fear of being left without a job hangs in the air until one of them finds a mysterious note. An innocent note from his daughter becomes the reason for cruel ridicule from his boss. He clenches his fists, suppressing the humiliation, because he won't find another job. An icy calm hides her anger as she ponders who dared to build the wall. She feigns curiosity and asks who had the audacity to do such audacious thing. With a triumphant smile, she admits that the queen of scandals and shamelessness is now standing right in front of him. The appearance of Lady Giselle shocks them. They cannot understand what she is doing here. She imperiously orders the workers to continue construction, cementing her new position. The manager runs up to her in a panic, demanding an immediate explanation for her outrageous actions. His threats to report everything to Lady Mariposa are dashed by her icy indifference. Behind the girl's back, they whisper about her awkward pose and worn clothes, not finding a drop of elegance in her. The waiter, feigning regret, spills his drink on her, pretending not to notice her. He adds with a wry grin that she is so inconspicuous that anyone could have been in his place. Humiliated and soiled, she is forced to listen to ridicule about her unworthy appearance and false accusations of harassment. Memories of past humiliation flash through her mind as she looks at the dessert. She cuts him off firmly, pointing to the sour strawberries and questioning the standards of their establishment. In protest, she smashes a glass, shocking the waiter with her brazen act. The guy is at a loss under her pressure, not knowing how to respond to the accusation of bad taste and disrespect for the nobility. With icy calm, she declares that she has nothing more to talk about with him. She orders him to call the mistress in an imperious tone, and anger flares in Mariposa's eyes. Mariposa furiously demands an explanation, but Giselle meets her with an icy calm that she did not expect. She silently holds out the document, and this gesture speaks louder than any words. The girl explodes with indignation, not understanding how her rival dares to shove papers in her face. An investigation revealed that the coffee shop was financed with money stolen from her family, and that the records were in disarray. With irrefutable evidence in hand, she threatens legal action if the theft is confirmed. With a predatory smile, Giselle proposes a deal, calling the transfer of the coffee shop her last chance at redemption. A fire flares in Mariposa's eyes. She is not going to give in to provocations and cheap tricks. She furiously attacks her rival, refusing to believe that what is happening is real. Giselle delivers the final blow, warning that if she goes to trial, not only she, but her son will suffer as well. Clenching her fist until it hurts, Mariposa bitterly realizes her defeat, because she has been driven into a corner. She clenches her fist, sacrificing the coffee shop to save her son, and the decision tears her apart. With a heavy heart, she signs, but in her soul, a plan of revenge is already maturing, postponed until the hour when her son gains power. The deal is done, and the satisfaction on Giselle's face contrasts with the barely concealed pain of Mariposa's defeat. Giselle rereads the contract with triumph, knowing that the non-disclosure clause will tie Mariposa's hands and prevent her from calling her brother for help. Clutching a letter opener, she decides to lie low, hiding her rage until a more opportune moment to strike. A familiar voice calling her full name makes her turn around sharply, anticipating new trouble. He came after receiving an anonymous note accusing his sister of stealing family money. Her brother stands before her, and his stern gaze leaves no doubt that he believed the slander. Giselle feigns surprise when she comments on the anonymous message, and Mariposa begins to understand. In a rage, she accuses Giselle of a vile denunciation, but she only coldly demands that she stop looking at the child. He coldly informs her that he has canceled her arrest for just one day in order to meet with Duke Kalinos. He brings down new accusations on her, not only of theft, but also of violating a direct order. But this is not enough for him. He angrily accuses her of spreading dirty rumors about Giselle. He turns away, declaring a complete loss of trust, and she desperately begs for one last chance. His sentence sounds like a thunderclap, banishing Mariposa Florette from her family without the right to forgiveness. In panic, she falls to her knees, realizing that exile is tantamount to a death sentence and the loss of everything. With a trembling voice, she begs for mercy, her pride shattered. He reminds her with icy calm that she should be grateful that he did not sentence her to death. Resigned to her fate, she admits her mistakes, but her heart aches not for herself. Her last plea is for a son, asking her brother to allow the innocent child to stay in the family. She makes insidious plans, hiding her true intentions behind a mask of sympathy. He realizes with horror that his mother has been driven out of her own home. The mother begs her son to stay, making a promise she cannot keep. His heart is filled with a thirst for revenge against the one who destroyed their family. Giselle becomes the center of all misfortunes. He curses the day she appeared, depriving his mother of everything and his own future. Despair squeezes his throat, and he is ready to do anything just so that she is not around. An invisible force strikes, causing his body to shudder in pain. She looks at him with cold superiority, knowing that his will is broken. A stranger bursts into the room, frozen by the scene he witnessed. The sudden appearance of the guards takes him by surprise at the most inopportune moment. The knight tries to protect her, unaware that she herself is pulling the strings. He realizes with horror that he has fallen into a skillfully laid trap. She reveals her plan with a grin, enjoying his helplessness. The realization of her treachery crashes down on him, causing rage and despair. The count bursts into the room, his face distorted with concern for the imaginary victim. He tries to justify himself, but his words are drowned out by the feigned innocence of the deceiver. She triumphantly announces his imminent expulsion, anticipating her victory. His world falls apart when he realizes that this is exactly what she was after all along. He cries out to his uncle in despair, but he only orders him to be silent as he passes judgment. The count, blinded by anger, expels his own nephew, passing the final sentence. The young man is dragged out of the house by force, while he looks in disbelief at his uncle, who has disowned him. His cries for justice are drowned out by the sound of the rain, reflecting the depth of his despair. The man hugs the main culprit, apologizing for the troubles that she herself caused. She continues to skillfully play the role of an innocent lamb, gaining even deeper into his trust. The heroine mentally triumphs, because now no one can interfere with her plans. Giselle Coffee Shop becomes a new center of attention, impressing visitors with its quality. Rumors about the new establishment and its expensive raw materials quickly spread throughout the city. The socialites discuss the imperial family's interest in the place, revealing the heroine's true motives. He is sincerely proud of her success, not realizing that this is only part of her big, insidious plan. The heroine slyly attributes her success to the count, hiding the true cost of her victory. She cold-bloodedly gets rid of old employees so that no one can interfere with her plans. Only one man escaped her purge, and now his fate lies in her hands. He was about to leave forever, not suspecting that a completely different role was prepared for him. Giselle gives him new hope by offering him a position he could never have dreamed of. In her hands, she holds the key to his great future, which only she knows about. Her sincerity and generosity convince the future chef to trust her completely. She enjoys the moment of triumph as she reflects on her new successful business. The Count, proud of her achievements, decides that it is time for her to think about finding suitors. She shocks him with the sudden announcement that her heart already belongs to someone else. The news of her secret engagement stuns the Count, but she cleverly justifies herself by playing on his feelings. She dismisses his suggestions with disdain, considering the proposed suitors to be unworthy trash. In the midst of their argument, a mysterious stranger appears, leaving the Count frozen in bewilderment. The stranger tenderly calls her his bride, and she greets him with feigned joy, confirming their agreement. His devilish grin leaves no doubt that this is Duke Callisto himself, the most dangerous man in the Empire. The Count is furious at such impudence, not understanding how this man dared to call him his father-in-law. He couldn't understand why, of all the men, she chose the bloodiest villain in the Empire. A sudden revelation strikes the Count. He remembers the brutal massacre and understands that Giselle was the cause of it all. The Duke tells a beautiful story of love at first sight, but there is more behind his words. Memory throws up disturbing details from that very banquet to the Count, and in desperation, he tries to appeal to the Duke's prudence. The Duke skillfully puts pressure on the Count, convincing him that Giselle's estate is in danger and that only he can protect her. The Count desperately tries to resist, assuring that he has already gotten rid of all threats, but his confidence is melting before his eyes. The heroine, with an angelic look, declares her unwavering desire to get married, dealing a decisive blow to the will of her guardian. She skillfully manipulates his paternal feelings, making him believe that marriage will not be an obstacle to their meetings. The promise to visit him every weekend throws the man into a panic, and he finally loses control of the situation. Having surrendered, he takes a promise from the Duke not to separate him from Giselle while she celebrates her small victory. The conversation about the dowry takes the Count by surprise when the girl declares that she has already received everything she needs from him. The sudden visit of a mysterious guest interrupts their conversation, bringing a note of tension into the room. The Duke's mother's appearance comes as a surprise to everyone, but Giselle greets the news with icy calm. She confidently goes to the meeting alone, leaving the men perplexed and anticipating a new intrigue. The Duchess reproaches the girl for her lack of hospitality, hiding her true dissatisfaction behind formalities. She tries to maintain propriety, but the icy tone of her future mother-in-law leaves no doubt about her true mood. The heroine proudly confirms rumors about her business, throwing down a bold challenge to the authority of the Duchess. The bold statement about the coffee house as a dowry makes the Duchess see in her not a simpleton, but a calculating gambler. She mentally despises the girl for her simple outfit, unable to come to terms with the thought that she will become part of their family. Giselle, with a confident smile, confirms the Count's consent, leaving her future mother-in-law no chance to object. The familiar address to the Duchess as mother becomes another blow to her aristocratic pride. She cuts her off abruptly, making it clear that she will not tolerate such behavior, and gets to the point. The Duchess announces a harsh family tradition that hides the threat of constant danger from monsters. She puts an end to the wedding issue, declaring that she cannot afford to follow romantic traditions. The Duke looks at the map, thinking about the ancient oath that cannot be fulfilled without all family members. Giselle tries to find a way out of the situation, but her future mother-in-law interrupts her, destroying all hopes. She announces with icy calm that she is meeting another person, keeping the intrigue until the very end. Her words come as a bolt from the blue, for she speaks of a former duke who is alive and whose appearance promises great misfortune. In a secret place, soaked in pain and suffering, those who were crippled in battles with monsters hide. Hidden from prying eyes, the tomb of the patriarchs holds terrible secrets and forgotten heroes. 5 years ago, he locked himself behind a magical barrier, condemning himself to eternal loneliness and cutting himself off from the world. The realization of who she is about to meet fills the girl with horror, because 5 years in the dark could break anyone. She tries to hide her fear, gathering all her will into a fist so as not to show her weakness before the decisive test. The Count, in desperation, tries to convey his disapproval, but his daughter's fiancé only coldly takes his words into account. The Count tries to hide his excitement behind a mask of flattery, because meeting this man stirs up old wounds. She stands as a living embodiment of strength, a national hero whose power is recognized even by the most influential people. The legendary former Duke, now only a shadow of himself, looks at his son's chosen one with surprise and a bit of contempt. His feeble appearance is shocking, because it is impossible to recognize the great warrior in this fragile and exhausted man. The groom proudly introduces his bride, but her future title is still up in the air, awaiting the patriarch's approval. He subtly hints that her status is not yet determined, because she has not given the main oath. The Count feels out of place, finding himself in the very center of someone else's family drama, and thanks fate for the intervention of the groom. He awkwardly tries to apologize for his future son-in-law's haste, but the former Duke only graciously accepts his apology. The girl with a mysterious smile confirms her connection with the famous magician, revealing another trump card in her game. His memory flashes back to the distant past, when he himself admired the great magician, dreaming of inheriting his magical abilities. He talks about his long illness with a sly smile, hiding his true motives and observing everyone's reaction. His words are full of warmth and gratitude. He promises to take care of her, lulling the vigilance of everyone present. This cloying kindness makes her anxious, because she has to play the role of a spoiled fool in order to break the contract. She accepts his patronage with feigned delight, but his tired gaze suggests that he sees right through her. Her addressing him as a father becomes the first step in her cunning game, testing his patience and boundaries. She remembers her plan to irritate him with her obsessive friendliness so that he himself would want to get rid of her. She has a plaintive tone and a deliberately spoiled mood in her arsenal, everything to make herself unbearable for him. However, all her tricks are shattered by his impenetrable wall of politeness and hospitality. He offers her something to eat with fatherly concern, completely ignoring her attempts to provoke a conflict. She enjoys her food with a devilish grin, wondering why he's okay with this, and mentally pleading for him to get angry at her manners already. His admiration for her appetite seems sincere, but behind his kind smile lies a cold calculation. The idyllic table setting seems unreal, like the calm before a storm that is about to break. The son's question about his sympathy for the girl becomes the final test before delivering the decisive blow. Having received his father's blessing, he prepares to reveal the real reason for their visit, and the atmosphere instantly becomes tense. He decisively announces an immediate exchange of vows, leaving no one time to think or object. The father is stunned by such haste, but the son cleverly parries, referring to the will of the mysterious grandfather. All of the father's objections are shattered by an ironclad argument, since the young man has already secured the support of the emperor himself. The secret blessing and secret marriage become the main trump card in his hands, depriving his father of all power. The former duke looks at his son in complete confusion, unable to understand what made him take such a risky step. He takes a long look at her, full of determination, because his only goal is to make her his wife as soon as possible. She catches his pleading look and understands that now everything depends on her acting. With feigned sorrow, she clings to him, demonstrating to her father their unearthly love and unwillingness to part. His words about eternal love sound so convincing that even his own mother is momentarily speechless at such a spectacle. The father is finally broken by their sincerity and, sighing heavily, gives his doomed consent. He pulls out his father's old wedding vows, and she is horrified at the sight of this unexpected document. His words sound like a slave contract because he swears complete submission to his future wife. The Count is shocked by what he hears, but quickly realizes that this humiliating contract is only beneficial to his adopted daughter. He gives his blessing with relief, and the groom happily accepts him as a new father-in-law. The sudden appearance of the Duke's mother disrupts their idyll, and her stern gaze does not bode well. She triumphantly announces her new status, as from now on, she is the new Duchess of Kalinos. She looks to his eyes for confirmation, and their hands intertwine in silent collusion. He tenderly kisses her hand, accepting her as his wife and comrade in their common cause. Behind her calm smile lies a cold calculation, because their marriage is just a profitable deal. His predatory gaze makes it clear that feelings are not important. Their union is an undeniable reality. Her whole game falls apart when she finds herself in an unexpectedly intimate situation for which she was not prepared. He tells them about an old wedding tradition, a ritual that seems out of place in their world of intrigue. As something new, he gives her a teddy bear, a naive gift with a hidden meaning. This bear is the embodiment of his unfulfilled dream of fatherhood, which he talks about with sadness. His loneliness touches her, and she sees in him not a formidable patriarch, but a broken man. He reveals the main secret of his gift, because the decorations on it are powerful artifacts. She enthusiastically thanks her kind father-in-law, continuing her game, and he melts from her feigned tenderness. His sudden request to visit the annex takes her by surprise, and she tries to understand what lies behind this offer. His sly look makes her suspicious, because behind his soft request, there is some secret purpose. Anxiety squeezes the heart, because this situation is too reminiscent of old wounds. She gives her consent, and his joy seems over-exaggerated, as if she had just fallen into a trap. Her husband supports her father's decision, and she understands that now there is no turning back, and she will have to play her role to the end. He sees right through her, admiring her ability to read people and making sure that their love is not just a game. They leave him alone, and he removes the magical barrier to spend the night in solitude. She is on the threshold of a new life, because today their honeymoon begins, which does not promise anything good. The realization that she will have to share a bed with this man hits her with icy horror. She spent her entire life avoiding relationships, and now she's forced to share a bed with a man she doesn't even know. His relaxed and seductive posture makes her heart beat faster, foreshadowing a sleepless night. He slowly unbuttons his shirt, and she panics at this unexpected and blatant provocation. She jumps up, trying to stop him, because their fictitious marriage did not imply real marital intimacy. His bewilderment seems so genuine that she wonders for a moment if he's taking it all seriously. They go to bed, and an awkward silence hangs in the air, separating them like an invisible wall. She realizes with surprise that he really just went to bed, and her tension gradually subsides. She involuntarily admires his profile, comparing it to a perfect sculpture, and feels her cheeks flush. For the first time in her life, she feels someone else's warmth so close, and it turns out to be much more pleasant than she could have imagined. His calm breathing and warmth lull her, and she falls asleep, clinging to him as to the only source of peace. Her peaceful breathing fills the room with a calm she never knew in her solitude. He listens in surprise to the sounds of her sleep, finding in them a melody that is not written about in books. Every little thing connected with her seems special to him, and he drowns in these new, unfamiliar feelings. The thought that this sham marriage might not be such a bad idea gives him a glimmer of hope. He tries to push away the silly thoughts by reminding himself of the harsh reality and who he is. The ghost of the past in the form of his dead bride whispers to him that happiness is impossible in this cursed house. He convinces himself again that this is all just a game, and he must play his role perfectly until the end. She mumbles something in her sleep, instinctively clinging to him for warmth and protection. She wakes up to the feeling of his hand on her waist and freezes in horror, not understanding what is happening. Her lightning-fast reaction makes him flinch, and he smirks at her impressive reflexes, hiding his disappointment. He says goodbye with an awkward laugh as he heads off to work, leaving her alone in this huge house. She wishes him luck with a carefree smile, but behind her cheerfulness lies deep fatigue. Left alone, she falls onto her bed in despair, cursing the potion that doomed her to a year of sleepless nights next to him. She realizes that her heightened feelings are causing her to unconsciously seek his warmth, and vows to herself to be more careful. Her gaze falls on the teddy bear, and she cannot contain her admiration for this naive, but such a valuable gift. Thoughts about the two types of artifacts in this world once again captivate her, because this is the key to her main goal. She recalls that artifacts are divided into those that require mana and those that are available to ordinary people. Realizing that the bear has artifacts of both types attached to it, she hugs it to herself in delight, showering it with declarations of love. She realizes that this house is a real paradise for artifact hunters, and her marriage was the best deal of her life. The girl decides to examine her father-in-law's other gifts, and her hand reaches for the mysterious ring on his neck, anticipating new discoveries. Her hands find a mysterious letter that should never have caught her eye. Running her eyes over the lines, she realizes that she has accidentally revealed someone else's very dangerous secret. A chilling horror runs through her as she realizes that someone has been watching her closely this whole time.